All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. What the heck?
Just working.
I mean, that's a good thing. So, even though this is a Blazer video, we got to show at least a little quick update. The two Vipers are getting ready to go to Wisconsin for the SCCA runoffs. If you guys are fairly new to the channel here and only watch our Blazer videos, these are two cars owned by the same guy. He is a multi-time Trans Am class champion in the SGT class. And let's see, there was one championship with this car, two championships with another car, and then like 25 race wins?
I got no clue.
We've won a ton of Trans Am races with him.
Well,
I mean, like,
winning before I started working here.
yeah, there's a lot. So anyways, that's what's going on in this side of the shop. The Corvette is getting ready to come back in here. We kind of cleaned up a little bit. CJ's actually doing a diff swap and a rear end differential fluid pump because both cars have fluid pumps on them that circulate fluid through their differentials and a cooler to keep them cool. But you guys came here for this because you want to see what's going on with the Blazer. And I mean, it'd be cool if everybody watched our other stuff, but I get that you guys love the Blazer. We like the Blazer too. But I mean, if you were paying attention, you probably already see what's happening here. Yep, she's coming apart further. But before that, we're doing something else. All right, well, now that we got that out of the way, huge thanks to everybody that subscribed to the channel. Welcome to the channel. You know, we definitely appreciate you guys watching along. And another huge shout out to everybody that has been buying some merch from winwithksr.com. We get excited when we see everybody wearing our stuff and seeing our stickers on cars. I see them around town, a couple spots here and there. That's cool. Some people recognize me at, the grocery store or picking up my kids from school or seeing me anywhere else around town. That's always kind of cool. So thank you. A huge thank you to everybody that buys our merch and supports us, and those of you that watch the videos. And I guess I might as well mention, we do have a channel member option where you can join the channel. It's there's actually two options. There's like a $3 monthly thing, and then there's a $10. And with that, you get behind the scenes unedited stuff that we just film, just some randomness on every single car we're working on. And I try to do more of those videos because it's more just, like I said, super quick uploads. I airdrop them to my laptop, throw them right up on the internet, no ads, no editing, no thumbnail, nothing, just for the members only. Anyways, what are we doing first on the Blazer? So in that box are my wireless scales, and I want to get a rough idea of what this thing weighs. I got to get all the stuff out of it because obviously we're not using the blower, we're not using the hat, we're not using that intake. So I want to get a rough idea on the weight because, I might even set just to get it even closer, I may just drop the turbo on the engine, or I'll put the intake with the intercooler, whichever one's heavier. We'll find out which of those two combinations is heavier, whether it's this or just that. My bet would be on the turbo being heavier because of all that cast iron, but it might not be. So I'm gonna start a time lapse, and that time lapse will include me taking all the stuff out of the back of the car, everything out of the back situation area, as well as I'll probably just use some of these shelves over here to stack up the parts on that we're not going to be using, at least right away, and then scaling it. And I'll probably come back live once we get it scaled, and then the next move will be starting to take this thing apart. So let's get to work. All right, y'all. Well, it is warm back here in the back of the shop, even though the air's not too bad outside in the shop. And I forgot to do it to start the video, but another beautiful day in Florida. Actually, there's a nice breeze outside the shop here too. That guy working in the AC.
I don't feel bad for you. I scraped all the undercoating off the bottom of a 68 Camaro back there in the middle of summer.
You the man.
While y'all were in there with your AC.
Yeah, well. Need a bigger shop. But bigger shop's more expensive, which means the air conditioning's more expensive, which means the electric bill's more expensive. And I need more employees to fill. It's a never-ending cycle. We're in a good spot right now, though, especially we got a new guy starting next week. So we got a couple more days to get stuff kind of ready for him, which, I mean, it's not that we got to get anything ready for him. It's just we've got to give him a job to do when he gets here Monday, because we all got our own jobs we got to take care of. So anyway, I weighed all of the stuff. So the intake, 47 pounds. That's no throttle body, no race injectors, which, just a couple pounds here and there. Intercooler brick, 20 pounds. No water in it. Turbo, 56 pounds. No oil lines, no mount. Driver's side header, 14, but that also included the pipe to get it outside of the fender. So, and then passenger side, 13. So that brings us to 150 pounds total. That's no turbo mount, no coils, no water, no balancer, no starter. Yeah, so all of that stuff is going to add more weight. I don't know if the engine's got oil in it. I don't think it does. But like no piping, no throttle body, coolant, the oil, all of that stuff, I would guess it's going to be about 180 pounds. Which just happens to be what I weigh. So there's our weight without me. Now, yeah, there's 3-4 pounds of computer sitting there. But to get a rough idea of what this thing's gonna weigh, with all of the stuff up here in the front, let's see if I can get myself jammed up in here. Not really jammed up in here. All right, so call it 3,100 pounds. No wonder this thing was a wheelie machine. Holy moly. 48.8 on the nose. Hey, Chandler, let's come sit in this thing.
Okay. The George.
Your name is now George.
Okay.
At least
a dash and stuff.
Yeah, just if you could just sit, yeah, just stand up on the door jamb. I want to see where the weight moves when you sit in it. Okay, barely move forward. They got this thing set up to go road racing. She 49 on the front and 50, 49.1, 50.9-ish on the back. Well, we got to make some changes.
Yeah.
That's
not great for radio
and
racing.
then 33. So, y'all pay attention in the future and let's see just how close it is at the end once we get everything all done. But I can already tell you, I'm sitting out, like I'm literally sitting on the core support bar, so I'm further forward than what would be, and with CJ in it, so it basically because the weight didn't change very much. I mean, it barely, the percentage barely changed. So literally the driver is sitting right on, at least until we move weight forward, the driver is sitting basically right on the center of gravity line in the car. It's a good thing in some ways because the weight doesn't drastically change when you're putting a driver in the car. But I can tell you, I don't like it being that light on the nose. I know it's a short wheelbase truck, but we don't know how much gas is in the stock gas tank. And it's got a pretty big battery in the back there. Maybe you can see it through the seat. Yeah, it's back there behind the seat. So at minimum, I'm going to move the battery forward, and I'll probably even do things. So the higher your weight is in your car, the higher or the more prone the car is going to be to wheelies, aside from it being 49.1% on the nose already. So we're going to do something with, I'm going to try and put the turbo as far forward as I can get it. Maybe see if I can use like the lower headlight hole over here on the passenger side for a turbo inlet. Maybe we'll get Ty to make us one of them snazzy carbon fiber ones. Now, who am I kidding? Ty's super busy. Don't need to bother Ty with that. Oh, I did know we got them horns, and then we got another horn over there. So that's going to disappear. And just to verify and remind you guys what we're doing with this thing, I want to make this car boring. Well, what do I mean by that? I want it to go out and be so predictable that every time they go up and go to the starting line, they know it's going to go down the track. They know it's going to hook. They know it's not going to wheelie. All that stuff. Now, maybe I'm taking some of the fun out of it for the viewers, but when you're wheeling and you're slamming down and breaking stuff and the car's broken, it doesn't get used, and then it gets parked for years. So we're going to try and make this thing where it's like the workhorse of the fleet. And in doing some of that, it's a lot of me and kind of the way we do things with building whole cars. We put a lot of thought into the build process of them to try and make them, make everything work really well. Like, and with this being a drag and drive deal, we are going to put an oil cooler on it, as well as like, I'm going to take the thing out, test driving it, make sure it stays cool, all that good stuff. I think I'm going to gear it a little bit long because there's going to be, I either need to take gear out of the rear end and make it to where maybe they run the 8th mile in first and second and then shift a third past the 8th mile. That's one thought. Or I need to change the gears in the transmission to make it to where they're tighter ratio and first gear is way longer to take a lot of that leverage out that this thing had and made it so wheelie prone. So a lot of things we're going to try and do. I'm not going to make it to where it uses so much limiter that the front end just instantly pops up off, or the front tires just instantly pop off the ground, because I told the guys that we would try to get this thing where it would run, 530s for that little gangsta class that a few of us have been racing lately. I ran it at the World Series of Pro Mod event at Bradenton, got down to 4 cars. James ran it in his, I think he got down to 8 cars. So it's a popular class, pays really well, get a lot of publicity for it, super cool drag race class, and you guys should come to those events because you got pro mods and you got the little gangsters class, and then you got a bunch of other awesome race cars, and it's just good entertaining drag racing. So anyway, setting up for those style races, the car needs front end travel. So what we're going to try and make it do is lift the front end nice and slow, not do a wheelie, but having that front travel. This is Kevin theory here, but it's been pretty successful with Soccer Mom when we've been racing Soccer Mom through the years. Having that front travel lets the car work well for that first 20 feet when the track may not be as good as it was the last time you were up there on it. And if you've got a car that needs every bit of grip that the starting line has to offer, when the track changes and you have the front end tied down, it's going to spin. And then same situation, if you've got everything tied down and you're right on the edge of wheeling with all of the track prep and all the bite that the track has in it, then the track gets a little better than you're wheeling, because there's just no give point. Like, yeah, there's a small sweet spot in the middle there where it goes down the track and doesn't wheelie and doesn't spin. But anytime you get away from that really good racetrack, chances are you're going to be more prone to spin. So anyways, said all that to kind of give you guys my theory of what the kind of changes I'm going to be making to this car. Let me rephrase that a little bit. So now that we got all that info, it's time for me to start tearing this thing apart. And I think the first thing I'll probably do is lift it up, take the drive shaft out of it, check the gear ratio so that I can make a decision based on that. Because this thing does not have an overdrive. So for a drag and drive deal, we want them to be able to cruise, at the maximum speed limits that are available in the United States, plus or minus 5. And in doing that, it's going to need kind of a long rear gear, which may make the converter a little pickier, but we're going to work on all that. We're probably going to get a different converter for the car, truck, SUV, and then get everything where it's scienced together. And in doing all that, there may be, if they slow this thing down to 950s for the 950 index stuff, there may be, ideally, there would be another converter change for that. Because as we've been finding out with Soccer Mom, and I have demonstrated the last 2 years at Sick Week, when you have a huge RPM drop, and I mean like over 1200 RPM, when you have a huge RPM drop on your shift, especially with 4-bolt LSs, stuff without all of the head bolt holes around each cylinder, you kind of can get to the point where you're pushing head gaskets out of the thing. At least that's one of the contributing factors, I believe, from some people that I've talked to that are smarter than me about keeping one of these LSs alive at big power. Now, granted, this thing, I don't think it's going to need big power. I think if we get it to where it'll make 850 to 9, it's a little on the heavy side, so maybe 950 wheel. I think it'll do everything we need it to do. So let's get back to the time lapse. I'm gonna tear this thing apart the rest of the way. Here we go. Well, there's a few things missing. And one of the nice things about taking a vehicle apart is you can kind of get an idea on like if things are bent or not. And as we kind of maybe suspected, there's some stuff that's bent. So you can actually see where the engine plate tabs are bent forward. They're not square anymore. I think the mid plate was added after, or maybe that got bent forward for the mid plate. I don't know. I can't remember the timeline of when the mid plate got added to this thing, but probably gonna at least cut off the front tabs. And like I said, I was gonna add tabs down there to the bottom. So next thing I'll do is take a mock-up Turbo 400 case and a mock-up block, drop that in there. Next time I work on the car, next time I work on the truck, and then we'll figure out kind of where the driveline angles are, if it's straight, and then also see if we can remake these front tabs. I don't think I'm gonna need to do the mid plate, although I do see a wrinkle in it right there. You can see right here where it kind of, a little bend in it right there. So maybe we change the mid plate. I am going to add bars that go from the cage out to somewhere here. I still got to leave myself enough room for the turbo. And if I want to get real crazy, I'll add a bar. I'll do a hoop over the transmission, like the mid plate area. Or maybe chop the floor out a little bit right in that section, do a bar, and then come down off the cage with a bar just to square all this thing up. And you can kind of see I've started loosening up some of the wiring because I think instead of remote coils, we're going to put the coils on top of the valve covers. That's kind of one of the ways I like doing things. Motion Raceworks already has a bracket kit that will mount the coils and it'll bolt to these holes. So we'll get a set of that coming. We'll get a new steam vent kit coming so that will stay under the intake and it'll remove with the engine instead of it being on the firewall. I'm sure that setup was for the blower. So we'll take all that package off, put it in a bag, put it in a box with all the blower stuff. Probably take all the injectors out, maybe send them out, have them cleaned, have them flowed, put them in a box for what they are so that the guys down there will have spare parts for something, or maybe it's the same injector that's underneath the intake manifold. But I do see a few places I can save some weight. And one of that areas is the street fuel system. So it's all number 8 line, and the fuel pressure regulator is up here. Kind of one of the ways we normally do our dual fuel cars is we put the fuel pressure regulator back by the tank. So it comes out of the tank, fuel pressure regulator, return line goes right back to the tank, and then one line dead heads up for the engine on the pump gas injectors, because you don't really need a whole lot of fuel and it can just be deadheaded. You're not going to make much of any boost, if any, with like on the street fuel. Maybe we cap it at like 5 pounds, but there'll be enough difference. Like if I set the fuel pressure at 60 PSI base on the street side, there will be plenty of room with the injectors that are in the bottom there, because I think those are 200s, or maybe they're FIC 1700s. I'll have to look into that. But there's plenty of room to tune that, even though the fuel pressure won't be rising 1-to-1 with boost, because you don't even need to add a boost reference for a street fuel system when you're doing a dual fuel car. So, having said all that, you know, we've got some stuff to make some changes on this thing. And yeah, I think we'll get to doing some stuff, keep pecking away at it. And I imagine this video will come out on Saturday. And I have some plans for working on it some on Friday, but I don't know that it's enough for a video. We'll see. Yeah, there's the steering shaft thing James was talking about. Got to see what I can do to fix that. Got some ideas. It's going to involve a saw, chop saw, plasma cutter, grinding disc, dirty stuff. Probably going to go ahead and take the front end the rest of the way off. You know, maybe there's another video. If I get this video out Saturday, maybe there's another video that comes out early next week. I don't know. Saturday and Sunday are usually pretty good for YouTube videos, at least because everybody's not at work, or maybe people watch more at work. Anyway, my YouTube analytics doesn't say that, so I try to come out with a video on Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if possible, but I don't think that's going to happen this week. Like I said, probably Saturday, and then we got some other stuff going on in the shop that I've got to work on Friday, as well as hopefully get back here to work on this thing some more. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Once again, I thank you all for watching, subscribing, following along. Leave me a comment down there in the comment section. Let me know you made it all the way to the end of the video. And just a little small side note, we do have some new merch coming. And I think, or at least I hope, you guys like it. Going to be a new Lucy shirt, the Burnout car. You know, probably going to be on fire. You know, just saying, because that's when she's looking real sporty. And possibly a new Soccer Mom shirt. Got another shirt in mind that got to see how the artwork comes back on that before we really decide to fully send that one. But anyways, I'm blabbering, jibber jabbering, as my buddy Taylor Ray would say. And it's gotten kind of late. The sky's gotten cloudy, but it's going to be a pretty sunset in Florida. Anyways, see you next time.